Okay, so this is going to be a video about the Elden Ring movie, but there's not a lot to talk about since we only got like snippets of information about it. So I thought I'd just, talk a bit more about video game adaptations as a whole. Stick with me, I do have a pitch for the Elden Ring movie. The other day, I made a mistake and I posted on Twitter. Twitter these days is mostly the most annoying kids from your school, a bunch of Ronin racists going from point to point, no master, just being racist for the love of the game, and the horniest bots you have ever seen on the internet. So I don't know why I was surprised that folks were upset at me, but here's what happened. So on April 3rd, there was this post from Discussing Film, which was something about, the new Resident Evil movie has been described as a horror version of Fury Road. So I said, everything that I've read about this movie seems to indicate that it's Resident Evil in name only, which is very weird. That was just an observation. No real objection to what I heard about the movie or the fact that it's not super Resident Evil-y. But naturally, I got Resident Evil is stupid and it makes no sense. Who cares? Why does it need to follow it? The new game's got a motorcycle duel in it. Shut up, you're an idiot loser. Firstly, some of that is right. Secondly, I found it very surprising that people were so keen to throw Resident Evil under a bus to defend a movie that they haven't seen a single frame of that also didn't require defending. I was just expressing curiosity about how the Resident Evil IP got attached to this movie and the reasoning for having it on a movie that only seems to be like tangentially related to the IP. There's more info about the movie now, and the word is that it's an original story. It's set in the Resident Evil universe, and it kind of doesn't break the lore of the series. But we probably won't be seeing the iconic, tall, handsome, delicious Resident Evil character that everyone loves to objectify, Tofu. Well, that sounds good to me. I'm into it. But in the time since that experience, which wasn't a big deal, I've been thinking about the current state of video game adaptations and what people want from them and what people who are adapting them are looking for potentially. Historically, I think the assumption was that video game movies needed to stick close to the source material, no matter what, because that's exactly what fans of the games want. And by giving the fans of the games what they want, the film has a better chance of being a success and making a bunch of money by getting those gamers butts in cinema chairs. The success rate of that, however, has been low historically when it comes to quality. But that thinking largely seems to be a thing of the past, which is really exciting. The definition of what a faithful adaptation has changed, I think, or it's widened. So that fan service and like jingling keys with things from a franchise that people recognize is enough to get everyone excited, that's no longer prevalent or doesn't seem like a viable strategy as much anymore. They can still stick close to the source material, and something like The Last of Us, the TV series, example of that. But now there are other ways to pull off an adaptation that I think arguably are better. Namely, you take the spirit of an IP and create something original within it that leverages what made the game special. That appeals to gamers, but also it depicts those same things in a baggage-free way so that non-gamers can understand it and connect with it and get on board too. These kind of projects are much better creative spaces to be in for everyone involved. Those adapting have the outlines and the boundaries of the IP, but also the freedom to plot their own pathway through it. That is, I think, what gets you movies like Detective Pikachu, Sonic, the Mario movies, maybe even the Uncharted movie. They're enjoyable for the most part. They're inoffensive to people who are precious about the source material, and you can very easily memory hold them if you're not into them at all. I think of those movies as being good bridge movies. That means that someone can watch the movie and then if they take an interest in the IP, the experience they have when they play the game it's based on is one generally in line with what they see on the screen, which is a big deal and pretty important this day and age, because back in the day, I think that was a major issue, and it made the whole like genre of adaptations, the game to movie and movie to game, pretty much awful. If the movies weren't like outright bad, they just felt completely unrepresentative of the games they were based on. So no one was getting something good out of that deal, you know. You take Street Fighter, for example. I love that movie. It sucks, but I love it. But one of the worst things about it is what people saw on the screen was entirely divorced from the games, for the most part. Like, you had the characters, they look like it, but what the hell was going on? Like, if you watch that and then somehow it convinced you into checking out the games, you'd probably be like, what is this and what the hell is an Akuma? That problem is evident in the fact that they made a Street Fighter game based on the movie, which is based on the video game series. So the movie people had a bad game to go with the bad movie. That is just weird. The original Mario movie, the Angelina Jolie Tomb Raider movie, and so on, all that, I feel like they're in the same category of everyone disliked this. From a business perspective, I think those movies were a reflection of the interest Hollywood had in video games, and that was to make money by appealing to an untapped market. Over time, I think that's changed though. The intention feels different these days. It's no less focused on making money, but it's also not as short-sighted as it used to be. There's like efforts to make something good now, to get a longer term and sustainable interest in this IP. And if you do it right, you get the option of sequels, new seasons of a TV show, or if you're lucky, it could be the first piece in a franchise or a new universe. It's basically the Marvel Comics to MCU method. They did Iron Man right, and the money train kept rolling with all the movies that followed. So that is all to say that I think adaptations are actually in a pretty good place right now, and they are more likely to be good than bad these days, especially compared to how it used to be. And that's, I think, because people that actually know and care about the source material are brought into the projects. And that is a big part of what gets us good things like Cyberpunk Edge Runners and Castlevania and Arcane and Fallout, among other things. The people who know those IPs are in the room. Whereas adaptations used to be like destined for like ridicule before landing in the bargain bin, now they're better at landing in that sweet spot of appealing to fans and newcomers alike. It's what people strive for, and it shows in ventures like Charred Pictures, actually, which was a cool thing that is founded by Alana Pierce and a bunch of others, and it's a production company that is specifically catered to getting game devs involved in film and TV adaptation projects. Charred Pictures says that it's like built on a collaborative model where the developers are involved across a bunch of disciplines like writing and design stuff and music and that kind of stuff. And the reason I think that is really cool is because they are the people that are important to preserving the kind of authenticity, the tone, the intent, the identity of a source material, how it looks, how it feels. That is where you get that kind of authenticity that lands you in that sweet spot that appeals to the gamers and the non-gamers. I think the smarter part of Charred Productions is also that they're reaching out to like content creators, YouTubers and Twitch streamers and that kind of stuff, who are fans of that source material to fund projects to some extent. Not entirely, but I think that's a really clever way to do it because those people have money burning a hole in their pocket probably, and they are the kind of dorks who will be like, yes, I will fund that movie because I love that franchise or whatever it may be. That strategy kind of puts the game creators in the best possible position to do right by their games and release something that is authentic and makes a lot of sense. I'm a big fan of that strategy and I really hope it works out. But having said that, there are still plenty of opportunities to bungle adaptations as well, and I am certain we'll see a few of those soon. The one that kind of worries me right now is the Mass Effect series that's being made at Amazon Prime. A little bit worried about that one. The latest update on that was that the new head of TV over at Amazon has ordered for the scripts to be rewritten to appeal to non-gamers. That is a red flag. I get it though. Mass Effect is a universe that is incredibly dense, so trying to make it like digestible for people who have little to no familiarity with it probably seems important, but it also kind of risks filtering out what makes Mass Effect special and what made it resonate with so many people. BioWare is involved and it is set after the trilogy, so I'm hoping that they manage to get into that sweet spot, like I mentioned. People always say like Mass Effect is, you know, Star Trek for a certain generation. And I think it could really live up to that if it's authentic and does it right. Authenticity is, I think, essential. And the problem I'm having is like rewrites for casual appeal are so difficult that treading that line is close to impossible at times. On the flip side, there's A24's Elden Ring. That is hitting all the right buttons for me. Admittedly, there's not much about it out there, but the pieces that are being put together to make that movie make a lot of sense and they sound good to me. So A24 is a production company that it kind of has that boutique film nerd prestige vibe that I want Elden Ring to be approached with, you know, not a cookie cutter popcorn Hollywood movie, less Transformers, if you know what I mean, and more like Green Knight, which is an incredible movie. I love that movie. If you haven't seen it, watch that movie. You get some From Software vibes from it. A24 has also worked with Alex Garland, who's directing it, and I believe they worked on a bunch of his movies, including Ex Machina, which is one of my other favorite movies. And most importantly, Alex Garland is super into Elden Ring. There was a story a while back, which might be marketing speak, but he's apparently sunk 4,000 hours into Elden Ring. And if that is not marketing speak, and it is true, I feel like that's in good hands. I've seen a couple of interviews or read a couple of interviews where he has professed his love for the Elden Ring. So it seems legit. So far for the Elden Ring movie, what we've seen is what looks like a Church of Marika, complete with the big old statue. And then recently, that looks great. They're filming in the UK somewhere, probably in Scotland or something like that. And you look at the leaked screenshot or leaked picture from the set and it's like, yep, that looks like exactly like Elden Ring. That looks good. And then more recently, Nick Offerman was attached to the project. He works with Alex Garland a bunch, and I have been thinking about who he would play. We don't have any confirmation yet, but if I had to pick someone that would work for him and also be a character that is necessary to the movie's narrative, but isn't going to take over it, like he's not the main character, I would go with Sir Gideon Othmere. Smart, seems trustworthy, also up to no good in the background. I feel like Nick Offerman could do that role pretty good. I'm also fascinated to see what they pick as the narrative focus for the movie. I don't think that you can do a full Tarnished to Elden Lord arc in a single movie. And because of that, I'm kind of hoping they zero in on one of the smaller story threads in the game and kind of build up to it. If I had to pick a story thread, I would probably go with Vike. For people that might not remember him, which is understandable because he's not front and center in the way that a lot of other characters are. Vike is the character on the front of the Elden Ring box, the guy who's like, ow, my back. So before the player's Tarnished rolls into the lands between, Vike is the person who got the closest to becoming Elden Lord. His story hits like so many touch points from the world of Elden Ring that it would be cool for fans to see those and capture the imagination of newcomers as well. I think that those elements could really pull that off. So you get the idea of Tarnished, you get the history of Round Table Hold, you get an interesting dynamic between Vike and his maiden. You can explore locations like Leyndell, where Vike encounters the ancient dragon cult, and also Lanciax is there, I believe. It also lets you work with Frenzied Flame, which I think has a lot of potential from a narrative standpoint. And also from a visual standpoint, it would look awesome on the screen. And I think there's a really good way to structure a Vike/Frenzied Flame story so that it goes in some unexpected directions, but it doesn't leave the viewer feeling unfulfilled. That story also would open the door to have like Shabriri, which you could set up a cool twist with that character if you know the history of that character and Frenzied Flame and that kind of stuff. Alternatively, they could also go like the really messed up body horror with absolutely rancid vibes movie and just zero in on the loathsome dung eater, which also lets you do the Omen and that paves the way for Margit / Morgott / Moog / Godfrey and that kind of stuff. The point is, there's a lot of potential in the universe of Elden Ring, and I'm hoping and praying that they get it right. And to my surprise, I'm actually feeling pretty good about where it's at, even though we haven't seen much of it. And that, I think a lot of that comes from who is taking it on, Alex Garland, A24. But a lot of it also comes from feeling like adaptations are, as a genre, the cops are coming, adaptations as a genre are in a much, much better place. Like I said earlier, people take it a little more seriously as a undertaking. They don't try and cheap out on it as much these days. And like if you think of Mass Effect as having the potential to be Star Trek for a new modern audience, I think Elden Ring could, I'm gonna catch some heat for this, but I think it could be like a Lord of the Rings style, obsession fan base about it. And also the scale and scope of it could match something like that. Here's hoping anyway. So there you have it. That's what I was thinking about when it comes to the Elden Ring movie and movies and TV shows and that kind of stuff. If you've been enjoying the background here, this is a 9-hour video recapping the story of Elden Ring. It is created by one of my favorite From Software YouTubers. Highly recommend it if you have a spare 9 hours. Watch it in one sitting like I did. Maybe bring some people around, do like a viewing party. It'll be great, trust me. But thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you can. I might not have a video next week because I will be traveling, but I will do my best. Maybe I'll do like TikToks or something like that. Anyways, peace.